to Heroes Forge, a Heroes of the Storm podcast.
What's going on, Forgers? Welcome to Season 2, Episode number 73 of Heroes Forge, a community-driven podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. This is your show host, Jeff Reynolds, and I'm here with the co-host of the show, who is more awesome than Payday. It's Kristen Ashton. What is going on, Kristen?
Payday. Oh, it's going great, Jeff. Thanks for asking. Thank you so much. And comparing me to Payday, that's pretty sick. That's the best day every 2 weeks if you get paid every 2 weeks, kind of a thing.
That's right. You look at your you look at your bank account and you're like, yes, I have money. And then you go home and you check the mail and you got bills. More money, more problems.
But like the money that goes once a month, right? The bills once a month, take care of those, and then the second payday. So once a month, you guys really love me, and that means a lot.
That's not exactly what I meant, but you are pretty freaking awesome. Let's talk some Heroes of the Storm here. We really want to thank everyone that participated in our Diva Code giveaway contest on Twitter. The response was really, really great. And Kristen, these people that responded had some killer ideas.
Oh, you guys were fantastic with the outpouring of imagination behind it, even after she had been released already with her bunny hops and her pistol shots and all that stuff. So it's just, to see you all in your imaginations. It's wonderful.
Yeah, and we really like the way that contest played out with people giving us, ideas for Deathwing's trait and everything. So look forward in the future to more contests like that coming from our show. And a big thank you to the Blizzard community team for helping us put on that contest. It was a really, really fun thing to see all of your guys' ideas. And the community is so creative. And hopefully next time we can get even more responses and more awesome creative stuff for whatever question we happen to come up with.
Oh, certainly. And speaking of creative, Jeff, there was news that was dropped this past week that I think many of us were waiting for. And that is, drumroll, the Raptor mount is officially coming to Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah, it's an instant grind for me now. Like, I need that Raptor mount. I'm ready to jump into my Team League games. I'm ready to get in there and get that Raptor mount because it's just silly cool. And the head, Kristen, the head bobs kind of like a raptor, and I can only imagine it must have taken so much work to make that head bob like that and for it to look like that in the game.
Yeah, it looks just like the WoW mount, and of course, the work behind it to even get it going, it's so cool. And I think the most interesting factor is that both Hero League and Team League have the epic versions of this mount locked behind Master. Not different tiers. No. You have to reach Master in either Hero or Team League to get that epic, or you don't get the epic version at all.
Yeah, and the epic version is far beyond my reach this time, because we only have a few weeks left, right, before this season comes to a close. So if you're out there and you're on the cusp of getting this epic raptor, call out of work sick. I don't condone it, but I actually 100% do. Get on this game and try to grind out that raptor mount, because if I see people in there with that epic raptor mount, it's going to be pretty sweet.
Yep, and it speaks to something I'm glad they're working toward, in that people who get to Master are going to be really rewarded with something special for doing that, because that's a badge of something awesome right there.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome, and I always wanted a raptor in the game ever since we had Zul'jin in the game. We need a troll that rides a raptor. Come on, let's get it going here. And now that we have this raptor, my Zul'jin's gonna look even cooler.
The costume is complete with this raptor. No longer sadly sifting through all of the mount options and going, no, maybe one day. Now the dreams can finally be realized.
That's right. So get out there, do your placements in Team League, get your raptor mount, and just ride it all the time with all of your characters. And I can't wait to see Murky on that raptor mount. It's going to be pretty awesome. All right, Kristen, this is a big week. This is going to be a ton of fun today. So let's do what we're here to do, and let's forge.
Let's forge.
Yes, that's time. It's time to forge. If this is your first time listening to the show, welcome to the show. This is HeroesForge. We're going to take a character that isn't in the Nexus yet, and we're going to pretend to put him in there, build him some kits, and see what we can come up with what they would be like if we moved him over to the game. This is a very special week, though, right, Kristen?
This is a special week. This is, the third Sunday of the month, so that means we are to our featured Forger episode, and we got something really cool.
Yes, we did. Super cool, and I was ready to do this as soon as we got it. It's from one of our forgers, longtime listener, Draven Dresden is our featured forger today. What a great idea. We're forging Reaper, and this kit that Draven sent in to us is so cool. I love this stuff, Kristen, when we come up with characters from Overwatch that they may port directly over, and we talk about this all the time when we talk about Symmetra. We talk about if they brought Bastion over, when they brought over Tracer, and how well they just ported it all over. But how cool would it be if we started playing around with it a little bit and coming up with our own stuff? And Draven did just that in the kit. Is just really, really great.
Definitely plays off this idea of a global auto attack kind of a deal, which is really, really neat. And I think what makes these Overwatch heroes fun to forge is the fact that we know what they would be when brought into the Nexus. They're going to do what they do in Overwatch. We've seen that time and time again already. So it's more of a play with what possibly else they could do if we were in an alternative timeline or something. What other creative things could this character be if it weren't so married to a direct Overwatch port?
Yeah, and as we see with things like D.Va's bunny hop, and there are some things in there that they're bringing into Heroes of the Storm that isn't in Overwatch.
That's very true. They're definitely expanding potential, as it were, to add a bit more color to a character that's got some basics in Overwatch, but they need a bit more to fit a Heroes meta.
Yeah, absolutely. And Draven's build is just awesome. So the way that this works is we pick one ability from Draven's build and we build two separate kits off of that. And then after the show is complete, we'll have 3 full kits that you can check out on our website, which is heroesforge.club. You click on this post and check out the Hero Kits page, and you can see everything that Draven wrote, Kristen put together, and I put together as well. This should be a blast. So let's get this thing started. Kristen, you won the Twitter vote last week, so you again are the reigning champion. So I will go first this time. And let's start with the little thing I like to call the role specialization for Reaper in the game. And I'm going with Specialist.
Specialist? So why Specialist? I mean, he screams die, 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 after all.
Yeah, but who is he screaming it to?
That's a good question. Himself?
Maybe. No, but in the Specialist, I really love the mobility of Reaper in Overwatch, right? So before we get into any more of this, let's hear a little bit of a backstory on Reaper and his place in Overwatch so we can get a little feel for it, because I want to talk a little bit about the mobility, but let's hear his backstory first.
All right. Jealousy. Such a simple word with such far-reaching implications. Gabriel Reyes joined the U.S. military and eventually entered into a soldier enhancement program. During this time, it can be assumed he earned his powers of hyper-decay and regeneration, something that allowed him to pull his body back together even after being apparently obliterated. A fierce combatant, he was invited to join Overwatch, where he helped stop the Omnic Crisis. And following this victory, Jack Morrison, not Reyes, was selected to be the official first commander of Overwatch. It was here that the jealousy is known to have set in. Reyes coveted that position, and not getting it sent him into a spiral downward, one that led him seeking revenge on Jack and all those good guys that stayed true to Overwatch even after its disbandment.
Yeah, so there's so much to talk about here. I mean, his hyper decay and regeneration, right? So he's genetically altered like so many of these Overwatch characters are. And also what I want to talk about a little bit is that gray line in Overwatch where is Reaper, I mean, the first thing I think of is that he's a quote unquote bad guy in Overwatch. But is he a bad guy? He started the Blackwatch, which was the Overwatch that basically did the things that Overwatch couldn't do because their hands were tied. Right? And so they didn't need approval in Blackwatch to do anything. They just went out and did it and got stuff done, where Overwatch had to wait and go through all the hoops in order to do anything. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts are I'd like to hear more about his backstory, because I'm not buying that him getting jealous of Jack was the only reason he spiraled into this wheelin' dealin' death maid incarnate. It's not enough. It's not fulfilling. I mean, come on, man. Just go do your own thing. Bad things happen to all of us, you know? We all lose out on positions. Why would we sit there and mope about it and become a super bad guy who wants to shoot people in the back, which makes him even worse of a bad guy because he can't do it to your face?
Yeah.
So that's where my mind goes.
Yeah, there's something, you're right. There's gotta be something else that happened. Maybe there's like a lover or something that we don't know about that like Soldier 76 stole from Reaper, and that's why this all thing went down. It's probably gonna go that direction.
Yeah, one can only assume that something bigger happened, but as it stands, all we know is he got jealous, he got a little upset, and then started with his guns. Now I'm gonna dress like death, and I'm gonna shoot people.
Yeah, that's
not that bad. It's not that bad. But that's how I see it in my mind.
This is a little asterisk here. We may embellish the truth a tiny bit on the show.
just a tiny bit, you know, to get some story going, to get some flavor added to it. But yes, you are absolutely right to point out this is a very gray character where the history speaks to something more complex than simply a bad guy who dresses in black.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the fact that both Morrison and Reyes, who Reyes is Reaper, that we know of. I mean, that's basically what we know through skins and things like that. It's never been officially said that that's the thing, but it is the thing. And they went through this genetic modification of, you know, changing the way their bodies act to become super soldiers, basically like a Captain America sort of thing. So Reaper gained this thing where he has that hyper decay and regeneration in the game, and so that's why I thought Specialist would be so cool. I mean, you could go Assassin, Specialist, you could maybe even go Tank, you could go Support in a certain way with some weird things, but I needed to go Specialist on this one.
Yeah, more because he affects a lot more around him than just the individual heroes.
Yeah, and also it comes off of Draven's trait here, which is my featured forger ability. It's called Death Walks Among You. So this is directly from Draven's build here. So he writes, Reaper's trait allows him to travel anywhere his team has vision. Reaper transforms into a cloud of black smoke and travels at immense speed to a select location. Reaper would not be able to travel through terrain, but would be able to travel through heroes and abilities. There is no visual indicator for enemies to see his destination. This ability would have a 1 second wind up to it. So that to me says, let's sneak up and take a camp. Let's get behind somebody and try to push a wall or something. So people don't know exactly where you are on the battlefield because you're just this, I mean, is the word I'm looking for like this spirit that's kind of just, you know, just going around this battlefield. And I thought Specialist, because this is such a cool trait to get around to these camps and steal them.
Yeah, definitely. And the global ability really speaks to how he moves around in Overwatch, because he's got that ability to teleport. And you can go across these crazy gaps and sneak up behind people, wreck their day, take the point, and call it a GG. So I like this idea because even the minions give sight. Once the mercs are up, you can check on the mercs. That's awesome.
Yeah, and Draven is actually in the chat right now and saying that this idea was taken directly from the cinematics, and the cinematics are so awesome. Like the Overwatch cinematic, the opening one, the one that they played at BlizzCon to announce the game, is so cool, and that's exactly what it is. And I imagine that it isn't like Abathur's Burrow in my mind. It's more like you actually have to Leoric Ghost across the battlefield. Now, you're moving faster than that across the battlefield, and they can't see where you're going. But it's a cool combo of a global, like almost global, because you're moving really fast, and also, you know, that whole Burrow or Leoric's Ghost thing. It's a cool combo.
Yeah. Now, here's something that would be interesting. If you ghost by an enemy that you didn't know was somewhere, would you then appear on the map?
I don't think they can see you at all. Like, they can't see, if it's anything like Overwatch, you know, they can't see where you're going or, you know, anything like that. So, or where the path in between where you're going. So I don't think they'd be able to see you. So no.
That would make sense. So it effectively works as a teleport, but it's not automatic, which kind of controls how powerful it actually is, right? Because you wouldn't want to give this thing too long of a cooldown just because he's supposed to be as global as he can be, but at the same time, you don't want him to be able to click on the map and appear wherever just because.
Right. So that's basically what I'm thinking that Draven is going for here. And Draven's in the chat saying it's like a Leoric Ghost meets a Falstad Global with Reaper Flare. Love it. So cool. So let's get into some mounting abilities here. So I built my whole idea off of that trait. And since we were talking about DC characters before the show started, it's so funny that I happened to say that Reaper would ride that Batman-like Batcycle from The Dark Knight.
Oh, nice, with the big old wheels.
Yeah. How cool would that be?
Now, how far away would you be able to hear him riding up to you? Because this thing, I would imagine, would be incredibly loud. And would you be able to run people over with the massive wheels?
Gosh, I wish you could. I really wish you could. That's good. We're gonna save that for Rock and Roll Racers when we did the forging of Rock and Roll Racers, being able to run people over and stuff like that. But I'm gonna say it's gonna act just like a normal mount in the game. It's just going to be that Batcycle like model.
That sounds good. That sounds good. And who doesn't want a Batcycle in the game, or at least something inspired by the Batcycle?
That's right. And they can mess with it a little bit and make it even more Reaper-y. Maybe hang some Reaper air fresheners or something from the rear
Maybe
view
instead
mirrors.
of wheels, it's got smoke.
Ah, so it's like a Ghost Rider cycle then. Or instead of
he lights himself on fire and then he goes.
more of lighting people on fire. More of that. Burning Rage. Let's get into some basic abilities here. My first one is called Hellfire Shotguns. So in this kit, Reaper doesn't have auto attacks. He actually uses this basic ability as his auto attacks. Each time he activates this ability, he will fire a shotgun blast from one of his 2 Hellfire shotguns. These are like pistol-like shotguns. He's super strong. Stronger than Kyle Vlaros. These are spread shots that deal damage in a cone area in front of Reaper. Each one of these blasts will come from his 2 guns, alternating each time, just like in Overwatch. Each shotgun has 4 shells total, equaling 8 shots total. Once all shots are fired, the next time that the ability is activated, Reaper will toss the guns to the side, littering the Nexus. Exactly like in Overwatch, if it's activated again, he will pull 2 new shotguns out and continue the barrage. The closer the target is to Reaper, the more damage they take from the shotguns.
Oh, nice, nice. I like that. And that speaks to shotguns, right? They are close range weapons that do a lot of damage the closer to that barrel you are.
Yeah, the more we talk about shotguns a lot on this show because there are a couple of characters that have that type of, video game shotgun feel from what we see. So if you had something like that, you'd have to increase the damage that they take. And it's kind of like just a spread shot, like Vala's W, where she hits it and it's a spread shot out. But instead of that, it would be on an auto attack that you have to be constantly hitting Q to fire in this build.
Yeah, that's great. And that kind of plays like Lily's cups, right? Just keep popping them out, hold you down, you're good. So I'm assuming the blasts would be quick succession, 8 of them, and then there's a brief reload period where you have to get it, kind of like Tracer.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just like Tracer, or if you play League of Legends, there's a character in there that has a shotgun that can only fire 2 shots before he has to reload. So this is kind of that same sort of feel. You're gaining damage, but you have a slower rate of fire and you have that reload time in between.
Yeah, and this cone thing is great too because of the area damage. You'd be able to do minions, so lane clear would probably just be a joke, especially if you line yourself up behind the archers, take those guys out first with the mass of the blast, and then everything after that is damaged. So would the shots pierce then, or would it stop with the closest target?
I think that it would stop with the closest target until you talented into them being able to pierce through.
I like that idea. And then you could talent into a piercing 1 or 2 targets or something. Nothing obscene where it just goes on forever, but something nice.
Yeah, it's just a cool feel, and I love that in Overwatch, just a slow, steady rate of fire that can just wipe people out completely. And speaking of that, let's talk about his W that I came up with. It's called Die, Die, Die. Reaper has the ability to place an explosive proximity charge on a friendly unit in the game using this ability. He activates it and is able to place the charge with the mouse cursor, kind of like placing the turret once you have the turret to be able to put on the battlefield, that sort of feel. The charge will explode and deal AoE damage to all units in range once an enemy hero comes within range of it.
Oh my goodness, so you turn one of your allies into a living bomb?
Exactly. Or a minion, or a mercenary, or a boss, or I guess you could put it on map objectives. That'd be kind of cool.
Oh, that's fascinating. So you're talking about mercenaries and bosses. If you throw it on a mercenary or boss while the enemy team is trying to grab it, does it do damage to that camp or that boss?
Yes, it does. So I imagine that you put this on in the perfect scenario here. The bomb is visible, so you put it on a camp that you're taking. So you take the giants, you're Reaper, you're running around, you take the giants, you put the visible bomb on the giants, and they start pushing the lane. As soon as the enemy team responds to the giants and comes down to start taking them out, it blows up and deals damage to them coming down to try to deal with that situation. But you could also use it on lane minions or friendly heroes, and you could put it on there that are just about to go into a fight or something like that.
Oh, definitely. And a Nubarak that dives in, just slap it on his carapace and send him on his way, and boom! Now,
Yeah.
How big is this AoE?
Pretty big. I'm going to say the size of an Asmodan meteor.
Ouch, that would be amazing because that would probably hit almost every enemy hero if you had a dive tank.
Yeah, so that's a great idea. That's like an underground proximity mine, just moving it right into place before it blows up. And with a Nubarak, you would have to program it to where it wouldn't blow up during the burrow, but once you came back up outside of it. That'd be pretty cool.
That's true. You'd have to get the timing down. Same with an Artanis swap. What if he dashes forward with the bomb on him, you explode it while it's out there, and then you jump back? I mean, to get good at this, I would imagine you'd have to play Falstad, and you'd take Boomerang, and you would just practice the heck out of that. And once Reaper is released with Die, 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 you're a master.
That's right. I didn't even think of that. What a great idea. It kind of, this third one is a little weird. So tell me what you think about this. It's called Puff of Smoke. So this is an instant cast like an ice block. But what will happen with this ability is that Reaper will instantly puff into smoke and disappear from the very spot he was standing for a fraction of a second. After, he will instantly reappear on the battlefield in the same place. So the difference here, I'll tell you what, Kristen, I can never forget when we were watching the finals at BlizzCon and we were watching these pro teams and they had a Brightwing and the Brightwing was playing against a Stitches and the hook would come out from Stitches and every single time Brightwing would get the ice block off within a second of seeing that hook. Ice block, the hook would bounce off the ice and then Brightwing was still back up and running, right? How cool was that?
That was amazing. And so being able to turn off damage like that, we're already seeing its power with Genji. And Illidan used to, he still has evasion, right? But it doesn't deflect damage. And you can't block everything like with Varian or Genji. So it definitely feels like it's a part of gameplay already.
Yeah, so this kind of thing, though, is a little different than that because the Stitches hook would go through, right? It would go through Reaper. So that's the difference, is if there was someone standing on the other side of Reaper, it would grab them or do whatever it is that would be on the other side. It's a skill shot, say it's a Leaming Orb or something. Reaper just disappears, the orb goes through and hits whatever's on the other side, and then he reappears. So I'm not sure if that would be a practical thing, if it would work, and maybe it wouldn't be as much utility as like an ice block is.
I think it would, and I think it kind of brings an interesting flavor because, like you said, it doesn't cancel what happens, it just goes through him. So in that case, where ice blocks are sturdy structures that knock things off, the visuals would be really great because it would just still happen. Maybe adding some sort of movement or something. But at the same time, Ice Block doesn't give you movement, and Chromie has that Dragon Sleep that she can pop into when in danger. So speaking to those, I think it has a place.
Yeah, it may work or it may not work. I'm also imagining that you would be able to hold objectives while you are gone. Obviously, when you get off of it, you're not gonna when you puff into smoke, you don't disappear from the battlefield, in the respect of you could run in to try to steal a boss, and then right as the bar is going in your favor, go into smoke, and then they can't hurt you while you're trying to still cap the boss,
Definitely. And how is this different from Li Ming's teleport, right? It's a short range way to avoid damage that you would take because of some off positioning you had. It is a quick way to fix a mistake you've made so you can jump back into the game and re-find yourself without having suffered a death.
Yeah, and Chad is asking if it would if you could escape a pyroblast from this, and the answer is yes, because anything I can imagine that would allow me to escape a pyroblast, I'm going to, or a triple tap, or any of that kind of stuff that you might as well just get up and make a sandwich because it takes that long for you to die from a triple tap, and you just know it's coming.
Oh my goodness, yes. But practice, it's great though, right? When you have something that's practice that you can turn it on and it completely negates those things that trigger you so much in the game.
Absolutely. Let's get into some heroics here. The first one is called Blackwatch. So once Gabriel Reyes, Reaper felt as though the Overwatch program could not get the jobs done that were quote-unquote dirty and needed approval before any action could be taken. To combat this, he created his own task force called Blackwatch. When this ability is activated, Reaper will be able to turn all units in the area into smoke, and they will disappear from the battlefield. This lasts for a short amount of time, and all friendly units cannot be revealed during this ability. The Reaper player will want to communicate with his team to allow them to reposition during this time, during the time of this ultimate. So basically it gives you the ability to reposition your team. You can't use any abilities or attack during this, but you could reposition or escape.
Oh my goodness, this would put the Bush meta right out the window because you would just need the Reaper meta. You just hide out. Right. So, how long does this one last? How long could you hide out in plain air? And I'm imagining this is without the shimmer too, yes?
Yeah, so you're just repositioning yourself, and then you're right back into the fight right when it ends. Can you imagine the entombs you could set up, the earthquakes you could get ready to do, or just the mad escapes you could pull off?
Oh my goodness, and of course that tricky little sorcerer you have running around in the background on your team, they could get in a really, really beneficial position without any detrimental being caught out of place kind of a thing.
Yes, and I do want that Shadow Stock back. The Tyrande make everybody, same. So I thought that's a really cool idea. I'm sad to see it go. So that's why I put this in here. And then my second heroic is called Waste Not, Want Not. This is a little crazy too, so let me know what you think of this. When this is used, all heroes on the minimap are revealed to the friendly team. Something that we see normally, right? When this happens, it also affects the enemy's minimap, covering it in black smoke for a short amount of time, so they can't see their minimap. Also, for the remainder of the game, all friendly heroes show up as question marks on the minimap to the enemy rather than their character icon. So they do not see who is where. They can just see that there's someone there, but not who it is.
That's dirty. That would bring up Team League communication requirements a whole new level, an entirely new level. Oh, wow. You would have to be on top of not only the minimap, but quickly moving your camera all over the map to see what those question marks represent.
Yeah, so, I mean, and I learned this when I was playing Team League with you guys, and you guys are so aware of the minimap the entire game. It's crazy. So taking that tool away from people that really look at that, I mean, that's got that evil feel to me, and it's kind of, I also think that it would work for some of the other Overwatch characters, like Sombra, could hack into the minimap or whatever and kind of change what the minimap looks like or whatever. I think that there's a place for them to play with that a little bit.
There certainly is, and it would be a very, very interesting experiment to see how the player base would react to something as pivotal to the game as the minimap itself. I mean, how would you adapt your play style to not being able to quickly look down and see who's missing or see where everyone is or predict where they're going and what they're going to do based on their movements?
Yeah, so it kind of changes, and it changes the whole way that you may play. So that's my kit right there. That's my whole hero kit for Reaper, based on Draven's awesome trait, the Death Walks Among You. I would say that he would be a specialist that would roam the battlefield. No one would know where he actually is, using massive damage from his shotguns and being able to evade damage using his disappear ability, basically, to grab camps, throw bombs on them, and just send them towards the enemy and try to take some structures down too.
It's a solid build, and that's what he does, right? It feels like the character of Reaper. Dash around, don't get caught, deal a lot of damage, get out, reposition, deal a lot of damage. Just that striking back, kind of like a cobra.
Absolutely. That's what I want Reaper to feel like, just getting in there and doing some major damage. So before we move on to Kristins Kit, we have to thank some people out there. And the first people that we need to thank are obviously our patrons, people that help support the show and have been supporting it for a long time. And even our newest patrons, we want to thank all of you so much for all of your support. We couldn't do the show without you. And we also want to tell you that we have a little something that we're going to be sending you in your inbox. So keep an eye on your inbox. I'm going to get those out tonight if you're a patron of the show, just to say another thank you for all of your support. And we also want to thank everyone that has given us a 5-star review on iTunes. You are all rock stars. If you listen to the show on iTunes and you'd like to drop us a 5-star review, just leave your name so that we can give you a shout out on the show when we get to this point next week. All right, Kristen, let's get to it. What is your role classification for your Reaper?
I didn't go as creative as you did, Jeff. I walked the line with this one, and I went with assassin. He's a gun-toting, evil son of a gun. And I figured that deserved being an assassin.
Absolutely. There's nothing not creative about that. That is basically it's the can of worms that you're opening, because there's so many cool ways to make him a badass assassin, because he is pretty badass. I mean, look at the guy.
He is. I mean, he's doing the whole Matrix-inspired trench coat thing. He throws away guns and he pulls out new guns because he doesn't need those anymore, which I think is the most amazing part of that character. Where did these guns come from? I don't care.
Yeah, and it's all over all of these wiki pages and stuff that it's very Matrix lobby scene inspired, where he's just like, I'm just gonna throw these guns away because I've got a brand new set of guns right here.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe he's got a special matrix room where the gun shelves fly at him and he loads up every time he goes into a battle. It's great. It really does kind of hit that nostalgia factor.
Absolutely. Okay, so Assassin, what's your trait?
The trait is called True Vision, and that's because with his smoky ability to appear anywhere, I also kind of wanted to play to his sight, because that gives him the ability to see the battlefield from a very different perspective than his teammates. So this one's called True Vision. When activated, a ring of sight appears around Reaper and travels outward. As soon as Reaper moves, the distance of this ring from Reaper locks into place and grants him movable sight for a period of time, allowing him to spot unseen enemies and fire on them.
Okay, so I think I get this. So you get like basically it's a circle around you that you can see, but it moves forward and it locks onto a set distance out front of you, right?
Kind of. Imagine he's got a hula hoop around him.
Okay.
And this hula hoop or donut gets bigger. So if it grows to the max size, the closest stuff to you, that's covered by your own vision, right? But it increases that vision circle, and you're able to see beyond walls that your team couldn't see beyond. So maybe you can see into smoke vents that you wouldn't have otherwise been able to see into, and then act upon people trying to act sneaky in plants or something.
Oh, I love it. That is so cool. I've been playing with some friends and saying, I'm going to face check this bush right now and just run in the bush and then die. Don't ever do that. And especially don't ever call it out right before you do it. Cause then when you die, it makes it that much funnier, unless you're in for a really good laugh. So, okay, I get this. This is really cool. So you could kind of negate ambushes.
Exactly. And I mean, how nice is it at the beginning of a game when you have somebody, or Stealthy, for instance, a Nova or a Sammy or a Valera, who can check all of the bushes around you and give your team sight so that you are 100% prepared to take on whatever it is.
Oh man, I wish I played with people that did those sorts of things. That'd be so great to know where people are and stuff like that. That's utility right there. What's your mounting ability?
I'm thinking it would be black smoke, like we talked about, except Reyes would transform his feet into the smoke, and he would use that to speed along. Because I know we already have the cloud mounts, and those are pretty cool, but what if he turned his feet into these things so you couldn't see where his little legs were in the mist?
Yeah, and the cloud, the fart cloud as we call it, is not the same type of smoke that Reaper turns into, right? So you could change the way that the smoke looks. It kind of has that lingering fog-like feel rather than a cloud look. It's more, lethargic and foggy, where the cloud is different.
Yeah, exactly. And we already know he can turn his body into smoke, so why wouldn't he be able to turn different parts of his body into smoke, leaving other bits intact?
Oh yeah, so cool. Okay, basic abilities. Let's hit the first one.
Okay, first one is called Your Name, My Bullet. Reaper is the master of grudges. He has every enemy's name carved onto his bullets. When he shoots you with one with your name on it, you suffer a percentage of your health and damage and take increased damage from Reaper for a period of time.
He doesn't have a lot of friends, so these bullets are huge.
Oh man, you know those scenes in movies where the serious music is there and we got a close-up of the guy carving in the bullets the name of the person he's going to take down? Just like Nazebo fills up jars full of spiders and toads in his coat, right? I mean, Reaper does this kind of stuff. He's detail. He loves it.
Yeah, okay, so he's doing his basic attacks, and then you activate this, and this is like the named bullet. Does he load the special bullet in his gun before he shoots it off, or is it just an instant thing that happens, and does it auto hit, or is it a skill shot? What are you thinking?
Oh, that's a good question. I think we should go with him doing the special animation. so that the enemy team knows their name is on this bullet that's coming out. And then it would auto hit as soon as the person he wanted to hit was in range.
Oh, yeah, and he could do some great voice line or something as he, like, this one's for you, or whatever, like, as he fires it off. I have the worst Reaper voice.
Mine's not any better. What am I going to do? This one's for you.
What is he, Mickey Mouse?
Kristen, what are you doing?
Is he Mickey Mouse now? Mickey Mouse Reaper skin?
I just imagine whenever I try to do deep, awesome guy voices, it just sounds so high. It's laughable.
That's great. The voices are on point today. All right, let's get to the second basic ability. What's your W?
The second one is called Dodge This. Reaper uses rounds that explode into smaller rounds and so on in a circle around him, damaging everything caught in this ability's path. This explosion of bullets radiates outward, doing more damage the further out the ability and the longer the enemy is stuck in it.
Okay, so this is like a Overwatch ult, is what you're thinking? He's like firing in all directions, kind of like a Death Blossom?
Yeah, so maybe he does a spin as he shoots his gun, and this spin gives the bullets enough force to create a perfect circle around him. And it's a circle that goes outward 3 times. So you have your single bullets, your double bullets, your triple bullets kind of a thing, right? So if you're close to him like a Li Ming's orb, it's not going to do too much damage. But if you run backward as fast as the ability goes off, you're going to be hit by all 3 tiers, and that is what's going to hurt.
Oh, I get it. And that's really cool because, again, I'm thinking of the cinematic, you know. So the Overwatch cinematic of Reaper, and he does this moment where it looks like Death Blossom, his Death Blossom ultimate in the game, but it's different than how it plays out in the game. So you could play with this in the same way that you just did and make it like that, but a cool way to implement that in Heroes, because positioning is everything in this game. So abilities that have forced positioning for, unless you're going to take a bunch of damage, I think are really cool.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun, and I like the abilities, too, that play with your innate reactions, right? Because if you're shot with this thing, you're going to want to run away because you've taken damage, and if you didn't want to take that damage, that'll probably trigger the, oh, I got to get out of here factor and really, really hurt your ability. Kind of like with Li Ming. What if she's not scared of you after you've gone in deep and you go, oh, I should get out of here. She's going to be harder to kill than I thought. And then, of course, you run away and she fires her orb, which blows you up because you gave it the max radius, the max distance. Right.
You got far enough away for it to kill you instead of just eating it right up in front and then living.
Mm-hmm. Running around in a circle. She won't kill you.
I love it.
Just do circles.
Until she ults, and then the laser beam of arcane death ruins your day. And resets her.
It's star power. Some people can't handle it.
Sailor Moon star power. All right, what's your third basic ability?
Okay, the third one comes from Dresden's build, Shadow Step. Gotta love Shadow Step. And this one was a really, really cool take. Reaper targets an area within his own personal line of sight. This is not teammates, this is not minions, his own personal line of sight. And after a 0.75 second delay, teleports to that area. Reaper gains 10 armor at the start of the cast, and this armor gain lasts for 2 seconds.
Oh, I love the ability added with armor. I love armor in the game. I love how they're putting it in there with different things, so this is really neat.
Yeah, I mean, the heroes I play now, I've started to add armor whenever I can, just because I feel it's such a strong addition to most heroes, especially assassins.
Yeah, it's really awesome. And the fact that you can get this Shadow Step from Draven's build here and just be someplace else. Again, positioning is everything. To be able to flank a team or escape or, you know, get into a vent or a bush for an ambush or something like that is really great.
Yeah, and imagine you have the trait going so your sight is amplified. That gives you the ability to teleport way back to where Chromie is and then just blow her out of the water because there's no way that Chromie is going to have more health than you.
Oh, and I imagine you shadow step into a bush or a vent for this scenario, and Chromie is standing there outside and didn't see you come in, and then you use your Q, your name, my bullet, and you take that 1 second animation to load the bullet just for Chromie, and then bye-bye, Chromie.
Exactly, because you'd have to assume she wouldn't have put one of her time traps behind her, because how is an enemy going to get behind her? Oh, wait, the Reaper can.
Don't fear the Reaper. Or do. What are your heroics? What's your first heroic here?
The first one is called Bear My Soul. Reaper is death incarnate, or at least he pretends to be. Shouting, "Die, die, die," our plucky underdog runs into the middle of battle and lets loose all of the pain and angst he's ever felt in the form of bullets. This is similar to Vala's strafe, the only difference being if you are stuck in it for a set period of time, you die.
Okay, so this is how we're going to make it different than Vala's strafe. So you want to put this as if it was in the same mindset as Mosh Pit. You want to get in right on top of somebody and start this off. So they are forced to, like a diva mech explosion, get out of there before they die.
Exactly. And maybe the die, die, die is slowed down so that you know that if you're not out of this area of effect damage by the third die, you're dead.
Oh, so you're going to have an audio indicator like, I need to get out of there. So maybe... And so how big of a circle? Same as Vala's strafe, you think?
I think Vala's strafe would be a bit too big, because if she gets you and she's right on top of you when she pops it, chances are you probably won't be able to get out of the attack itself. So maybe half of that. So it's a really, really challenging one to land and to keep on somebody for the 3 stacks you need to kill them.
And chat wants to know if he would be unstoppable during this phase.
I think we'd have to... Oh, that's a good question. Because do you give him unstoppable? Or do you not and hope that the enemy team you've drafted against hasn't taken enough CC to control what you're about to do?
I think with the fact that you're going to destroy someone, basically, you have a delete key, that giving him unstoppable might be a little OP in that situation where you have to come in and try to stun him, and then you're also hoping, if you're Reaper, that if they do that, they had to get out of position in order to come and stun you, and then you could take advantage of that too.
Yeah, very, very, very true. So let's go no unstoppable. So you have to be really choosy with your targets.
Oh, that's a really cool ult. Very, very neat. Okay, what's your second ult?
All right, the second one I'm pretty proud of. It's called My Last Resort. Reaper cuts himself into pieces as a last resort. In this form, the 2 Reapers run parallel to one another, rapidly firing their guns and creating a movable wall of extreme damage.
The snaps for the pun. It's very clever.
Thank you.
Okay, so talk to me about this. You say a movable wall. So these 2 Reapers, are you one of the Reapers?
You are, in essence, both of the Reapers. And you can control this wall. So kind of like, Probius's wall?
Yes.
Imagine if it were 2 Reapers on either side of it shooting their bullets really fast at one another. So it creates this line of death. Oh. And you can move them to either stay on somebody or to push people back or to, get a little bit of damage out while you can.
Ah, so they're shooting each other, or they're shooting at each other.
Exactly, but, maybe the logistics are they're so awesome, they're each catching the bullets, putting it back in their gun, and it's a juggling trick.
Absolutely, and I can see a juggling skin in the future. This is a really cool idea, right? So this is basically is this a steady stream of damage like a Li-Ming laser? Or is it more like a Zool mage wall where you're going to get hit and hit and hit and hit? Or is it more like you're taking damage? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, it's going to be like a Liaming laser because
Oh.
if you walk through this thing, you should be punished. It's a pretty obvious wall to see, so you should avoid it. But, if you want to run through it, that's your funeral, right?
Oh, I can just imagine all of the limbo deaths and how funny they would be. Like someone's running away, you shadow step into a bush, you're at the very edge of the bush, you activate this ult. When you activate it, he splits himself in half, right? Does the second half have to go to the other side before the ult starts? Or do they just raise up on the other side and then just start firing?
Oh, the raise up is really cool. Another thing that could happen is the one Reaper splits into two, and then the middle of the wall is center on where you were standing, right as you split.
Oh, I like all of those ideas. I just like it's basically an entomb that deals damage and you're not stuck. So you could just keep running and then Reaper would keep running with you and then you just be taking damage the whole time.
Exactly. And imagine too the cheese capability. Your team is forcing the enemy team into a choke. You teleport behind the enemy team as they're trying to make their escape, and then you set up their goodbye party.
So how do you take damage during this? If they attack either Reaper or just one of the Reapers, do they know which one is the real Reaper?
Oh, that's a good question. Maybe when you get the level 10, one of the Reapers is the real Reaper. They don't know which one it is, unless you have vision, right? And then the fake one's the golden Reaper. But at level 20, you're both smoke, so you can't be targeted.
Oh, that's great. And then Chad is also saying another level 20 could be a third Reaper, and then you could just make the Bermuda Triangle of Reaper death.
Except if you stand in the middle, you don't get damaged, just like Jaina's Ring of Frost. A movable triangle of death.
The Eye of the Storm. Another Twister reference in HeroesForge. Okay, Kristen, how do you sum up your whole build?
Oh, this one came to me it was great. Quoth the Reaper, nevermore.
Ooh, I like it. I like it a lot. And with Draven's Shadow Step, I mean, you really did it justice. We've talked about that Shadow Step with every ability that you've brought out here. So, I mean, you really built the whole kit around that, which is really, really pro. But before we can call these kits Forge, though, we got to talk about the best part. We got to talk about specialty skins and dance moves. So, Kristen, let's hear your specialty skin.
My specialty skin. Oh, yes. It's called Too Cool for School. Nobody understands Reaper, but whatever. He's too cool for school. He wears the early 90s equivalent of rad. There's lots of denim, a backward baseball cap, a Halloween mask maybe because it breaks the norms. And now, instead of smoke, he rides around on a skateboard. And even though he can't smoke cigarettes in the game, he would sneak it.
Winner. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. That is so good. I love it. Even though he's not allowed because nobody can smoke cigarettes in the game, Reaper would.
Right, it would be a little reference. He'd be somewhere. Maybe they would hide his face. You just see his back, and there's like a little puff of smoke coming up from where he was.
So great. Mine is less cool. I first thought of Exterminator Reaper. So he's just basically a bug exterminator, and he comes complete with bug sprayers and a mosquito mask instead of his, whole Reaper getup.
Yes, well, that we know is great from Men in Black, right? I mean, the things you could do with that bug sprayer are incredible.
Sugar and water. If you haven't seen Men in Black, that doesn't make any sense to you. I also thought you could make a really cool, like, Neo from the Matrix skin. That would be obviously something that would be really legitimate.
Totally. I mean, right, he's already got the trench coat on. All we would need to do is replace the mask with some sunglasses, and boom, you've got your Neo. And I think, didn't Dresden also throw in Deadpool?
Yeah, Deadpool was really great. And when I saw that, I thought, oh, that's perfect. I also thought like Boondock Saints. I was looking for characters that had two big guns that they walked around with. I was thinking, what is that? And then I came up with Exterminator. So that's how that rolls.
Well, the exterminator, that plays to that whole janitor Leoric thing, right? It's not the character, but it's the idea that they would somehow be a janitor or a bug exterminator during their days, but on the weekends, they are crime fighters.
That's right. Or kids that go to school in the early 90s and ride skateboards and wear lots of Junko jeans.
Oh, the Junko jeans. That would work great with the silhouette, right? Because the trench flares a bit at the bottom, so he would need to wear big old jeans to make sure we keep with it.
Absolutely. Let's get into dance moves. I'm calling mine disco shoulder rolls. So this is coming from, if you've seen the Goofy movie, you see the part where Bigfoot is tearing up the camp and then all of a sudden the headphones fall on his head and then he like slowly starts to dance because he's getting in the groove. I don't picture Reaper, I mean some may, as a dancer. So I picture him like having to slowly get into it with these disco shoulder rolls. So basically it's just like rolling your shoulders but starting off really slow and then getting bigger and then getting really into the dance move. That would be
nice.
his
And then he realizes you're watching and he stops.
Yeah, then he realizes you're watching him dance and he continues to trash the camp. What's your dance move?
All right, I gave him a trust exercise. Now, if you've never done anything related to theater, or I guess business camps do trust exercises too, but trust exercises are a big thing. It's how you learn to trust people around you. The whole premise being you fall and they'll be there to catch you. So I would imagine Reaper's got trust issues, so why not give him a trust exercise? Except in this one, he folds his hands over his chest and he falls backward to see if anyone will catch him. But guess what? No one does, Reaper. At least he looks cool when he's lying on the ground, dead on the inside. He meant to do that.
That's right. And does he like immediately jump back up?
That's the question. I don't think he would jump. That's too active for Reaper. He'd probably lay there, contemplate life to make it look like he did it on purpose, and then he'd slowly roll over to the side and do a cool, slow stand-up, as cool as possible.
Yeah, and like you said, act like he meant to do it.
Yeah, exactly. He wouldn't even dust himself off because, what's the point? You're just going to get dirty anyway.
That's right, because you're Reaper. And so, how does this play into your too cool for school Reaper skin?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe, he's messing around on his skateboard and it flies forward and he falls backward. But, he's trying to impress all of his teammates, so he plays it off. It's okay. It's just a bruised sternum. No, not a sternum. That's just a bruised tailbone. That's all it is.
Probably have a bruised sternum, too. You probably have a whole lot of stuff. All right, we got to call it here. We got to say that these heroes were officially forged.
HeroesForge.
Oh man, Reaper is so cool and would be so cool in the game. And to be honest, it would probably get ported like he is in the game right now, which would be really, really cool. And they'd have to add some Heroes of the Storm touches to it, obviously. But how do you feel about the Reaper that's in Overwatch now, Kristen? Would it pretty much fit in Heroes of the Storm?
I think it would, because it would give us a ranged Illidan. It would give us a ranged Genji. Well, Genji does have range. What am I talking about? But that kind of whole get in, kill, get out. Greymane kind of a thing, too. We all love these assassins that are in, out, even though they are very, very difficult to play sometimes.
Yeah, I don't think there are any Overwatch characters that couldn't come over to Heroes of the Storm. I think they would have to alter some of them more than others, but I think that they could all pretty much come over, which is a really neat idea.
Yeah, right. I think Widowmaker, right, would probably be the one that would need to be altered a bit the most, if only because we've got our Nova Sniper. But if you give her movement capability and you take away stealth, maybe you'd get something pretty interesting there in terms of sniping.
Yeah, and you'd have to take away the Widowmaker skin for Nova if you were going to do that, and maybe some people would be mad about that. So you're right. Widowmaker is one in there, and then of course you have, your Lieutenant Morales and your Mercy, which Mercy is different, and there is a different, feel there and different stuff that you could do. So things would have to be tweaked, but I think that Reaper has a place, and I think that Draven sent this build over, and it's pretty awesome. So again, we're going to include Draven's build, Kristin's build, my build on the websites, heroesforge.club. Check them out, and Kristen and my builds will both be up for voting on the Twitter page, which is Forge Heroes is our Twitter handle. And Kristen, where can people find you on the interwebs when you're not on this show?
When I'm not on this show, I am at Dream Destroyer. That is DRMDESTRYR over at Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
And what are we conquering on your streams lately?
Well, we will be finishing up The Witcher Monday morning. So depending on how long it takes, we may be immediately then jumping into Witcher 2. And then Outlast 2, we are pretty knee deep in. And it's been fun. I think they're going to stick with the whole sci-fi overtones, the sci-fi that they had in the first game, but at the same time there's a chance it may go Cthulhu, so I'm crossing my fingers.
Oh, interesting. Did you end up finishing Resident Evil?
Yes, I did, and the ending was Resident Evil 100%. Resident Evil 7 was a great game, a great reboot of the franchise. It had some wonderful scares, wonderful ambiance, wonderful story, it was just so much fun.
Awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed it, because I did enjoy it as well. Get out there and play that game too, but don't forget to get your loot chests in Heroes of the Storm. There's tons of loot out there to grab, tons of really awesome stuff for Heroes. If you're looking for me, you can find me right here on HeroesForge. The show records live every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/Amove TV, because we are so grateful to be part of the Amove TV Entertainment Podcast video game, plethora of awesome stuff network. Check them out at amove.tv for more awesome esports and video game podcasts. You can follow this show on Twitter at Forge Heroes. Our email is contactheroesforge@gmail.com. If you want to be featured as the next featured Forger, send us your ideas, and we love to hear from the community. You can send us an email or go to our website, which again is heroesforge.club, and click on the contact tab to send us your ideas. Thank you again to all of our patrons out there for supporting the show, rock stars as always, and thank you to everyone that has given us a 5-star review on iTunes again. You can find this show on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or any of your favorite podcasting apps, and also you can follow us on YouTube, which is youtube.com/HeroesForge. Any last thoughts on Reaper, Kristen?
I think him and Illidan would be best friends.
I think they'd be pretty tough together, and especially with the Reaper that's in Overwatch right now, and a Lieutenant Morales, or something in there that are just healing him as he can go in there and do his Death Blossom and just wreak havoc.
Oh, that would be disgusting. And the ganks you could set up too, with a hero that could teleport behind enemy lines. You could get that Morales in the back.
Yes, that's what we really need, is someone that can get that Morales in the back. I'm telling you, just go teleport to the other side, and then in Kristin's build, your name, my bullet, take out that Morales, and then just keep on battling down the lane. Reaper will be in the Nexus, I'm sure. It's just a matter of when. Thank you so much again to Dresden for sending in this kit. It is so cool, and again, it'll be up on the website to check it out. And we're gonna call it there. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening, and we'll catch you all in the real world.